Welcome everyone. This is our second tea time and the topic is first generation students. I'm going to start off with the question of what does it mean to you to be a first generation student?
I will answer that question, Emily. Well, for me, being a first generation student, it just means it is an honor for my family and even for me. It's more of accomplishments, as most of my siblings and my parents didn't go to college or university. This is just an accomplishment for me, and that I can do whatever I can. It's just saying to myself like, hey, you got here with all this challenges that I faced. That means that on the real world, I can face anything. And that's how I view the first generation, what it means to me.
Piggybacking off of that, I think for me, the image that comes to mind is paving the way. There were a lot of different obstacles that I faced, particularly at the transition from high school to college, like not knowing sort of very basic things about how to be a college student. And I didn't really get to go to my parents with those questions. But for me and my family, I think of it as paving a way because I got to help my younger sister sort of in the process of going to college and transitioning to it. So it's been, a very meaningful experience to be able to help her in that way.
Yeah, I totally understand that because I feel like being a first generation student is both a blessing and a curse. A curse because like you can't really go to your family and ask like, oh, how do I complete FAFSA? It's like, oh, I don't know. I don't even know what FAFSA is. So you kind of have to, at least for me, I kind of had my high school didn't really have that much of resources to seniors going on to college. So I kind of had to claw my way and ask different professors like, how do I apply to college? What college should I go to? What is FAFSA? And things like that. But then again, it's also a blessing because you are also paving the way for your family. And if you have like younger siblings or just anyone that particularly looks up to you, you can be their resources to help them in their time of need so they don't go through what you go through. And I feel like it's much better having someone there with you instead of doing it all by yourself because you get very overwhelmed like, oh, am I doing this right? Am I doing this wrong? So yeah, I really particularly felt that one.
I will say when I first started university, I thought it was for my younger cousins and my younger brother. But as I finished, like I realized like I actually inspired my mom, I inspired my grandma and like other adults in my family. And I was like, you guys are the adults though. Like you guys, have jobs and all the things. So that was kind of interesting as far as what I thought I was going to be taking into it and what I got out of it. If I had to, other than inspiring younger generations of my family, I would definitely say that was one that was really interesting to me that I never thought of along the way until after the fact.
Yeah, with me graduating soon, I was talking to my dad about graduation. He's like, oh, I don't know any of those things. I never met a person who went to university, and it was kind of like shocking because my dad's like 64 years old, and he's like never met a person other than me, his own daughter, who's went to university. So that's really shocking and eye-opening. So yeah. Maritza, do you have anything to say?
I guess like that's kind of relatable. Like, I was like the first person in my family to be born in like the United States. So like for my family, it's like a really big deal, like that I'm graduating. And then I guess like it's like being a first generation student is like being the first person in your family to go to university, but also like the first person. I'm like the oldest grandchild too, so like I guess like the first person to set like expectations or examples, not necessarily expectations, but like mainly like look, you can do it too kind of thing for like at least my little cousin. So I think it's like a really like a privilege, but it's also like a really big like pressure. I don't know.
So that's a really good segue into our next question, which is what's the biggest obstacle you had to face during college? And if with this obstacle, how did you in turn face it?
I guess like personally, the biggest obstacle that I had was like I guess just not knowing like what to do. Like I literally didn't know anything about dorms. I didn't know anything about like even what to like expect like when going into college, like how much work it was going to be. It was just like going into something really blind, even though you like heard about it. Like I went to an early college school, so they really prepped me for like, oh, you're going to go to college. But like when I got to college, I was like, this is something like I don't even know how to explain, and I don't know anyone who's gone through it either. So I guess like the biggest obstacle was like, who do I talk to when I feel this way, or like where do I go when I don't know what to do, kind of thing.
Yeah, when I would give tours, I would always tell people that were like concerned about like if I'm gonna be liked and if I can be this on campus. I'm like, look, getting in is the easy part. It's staying through the whole entire fight. I'm not just talking about grades, like I'm talking make sure you have the money and all that stuff. So I would say those are kind of the biggest things for sure. And just, staying organized helps. And it's like you're already behind the 8 ball because you're doing it by yourself. You're the first one. So if you can at least stay organized and find a couple faculty or staff or even some other upperclassmen that can kind of help you track through it, that could be like maybe a big brother, big sister kind of influence to you, is really helpful. But yeah, definitely just staying in and keeping the stamina to stay through it, because sometimes you're just like, look, I just want to quit. But that's like the easy thing to do, is like throw in the towel and just say you don't have any more options. But definitely just sticking it out. And if something maybe isn't working, just try rerouting, like GPS. When you start going the wrong way, it's okay because you can still get there, just reroute.
Yeah, I relate to that too. My biggest one was like the education, because my high school in Galveston was not the best, and like the majority of us did not go to college or stay in college. And like my class at the beginning of my freshman year in high school was like 400 or 500 students, and by the end of our senior year, it was only like 200-300 graduating. So that's the only of us that made it, and not even everybody went to college. And so I went to University of St. Thomas, and like, wow, these people went to like great high schools, they like know everything, and I felt kind of dumb because I'm like, I don't know any of this. Like they would put a problem on the board and everyone would be like, oh, I got it. I'm like, I don't understand what this person even asked me. And then so it was kind of tough trying to, I guess, understand or get myself on the same playing field as everybody, or understanding that I'm not stupid, that I just have a lot to learn. And then my other one was my financial situation. It's just my dad raised me and my brother ever since we were born, so it's just us. And from most of high school, I was kind of worried about like, how am I gonna pay for college? And I remember like I would like cry over it all the time. And I really didn't want my dad to pay for it, because I was like, well, he's already paid for enough of my life. So my dream was to get a full ride, but I couldn't get a full ride. So I tried to do the next best thing, was to get so many scholarships that my dad would barely have to pay anything. And I actually succeeded my first semester. Due to all my scholarships, I paid nothing. And so that was really close to my heart, because my dad obviously doesn't have like a lot of money, and this was kind of like my thank you to him, is that I'm going to college and you don't need to pay for like go in debt because of me. So yeah.
I understand what Emily says, because whenever I also transferred from high school to college, um, it's the not well, I don't want to say emotional state. It was not, I was not well prepared for that too. And whenever we get to college, I feel like I don't belong here, because these other students, they I can see the potential, and then I'm comparing myself to them. I still do it right now whenever I switch majors from bio to finance. I still see this too, even right now. I still compare myself with other students, and it's not a good idea. but but what I'm trying to do is just like, hey, everybody is different. Everybody is smart on their own way and their own pace. So that's one thing I had to tell myself, that every single day, that hey, I'm here. I got accepted. I've been here for now almost 4 years now, and all I need to do is just keep going. And if there's an obstacle, well, we find other ways to make it work. It might not be the ideal one, but it's at least something that we can do in that moment. So yes, I do feel that. I also feel the same thing as financial aid. I also try to do the same thing as Emily did. I really did not want to have my family in debt. So I tried, when I was applying to many different universities, I make sure I will find one that give me enough money, or that my dad had to pay less. But thanks to God that every year has been a graceful year. So everything is good. But if one year it didn't have like that, if we didn't have that much enough money, we would use the emergency fund that we try to save as much as we can. And there's other resources too. I mean, scholarship, the school is there for us to keep going. They don't want us to kick you out right away because you're not able to pay. No, not really. The school is there for you to help. They're willing to help you. So it's just a matter of asking for help. Asking the professors, they will immediately tell you like, hey, there's a job opening, or career services. They're there for you to, in order for you to have help. It's your choice when to ask for help. So yes, that's my takeaway on that one.
And Ms. Nicole, do you have anything to share?
Yeah, so I can definitely relate to needing to apply for a lot of scholarships. And my decision of where I ended up going to school came down to which school offered me the biggest scholarship as well, because my dad had lost his job like right, I think, middle of my senior year of high school. And so initially it was like, I was really bummed because it wasn't at the top of my list. It was like actually the bottom of the list. But thankfully, like, I think where you mentioned the word grace, and it definitely was a moment to me of providence, because it ended up being a really good fit sort of culturally for me. It was a small Catholic school, very similar to the University of St. Thomas. And it actually was 45 minutes away from home. So it ended up being a blessing in disguise that I ended up at St. Edward's in Austin. I think for me, the biggest obstacle that I experienced like throughout my 4 years was a sense of belonging, but with regards to my family. I felt very much like sort of the odd one out at times. And remember like my parents, especially my mom, like really wanting to have conversations about my classes and how they were going. She even like wanted to read some of my papers from time to time, but she would always say, like, send me this paper, but I won't understand any of it. And so it was a little bit tough, like trying to share with them the joys and like the exciting things that I was learning in classes, but with them not like really being able to fully share that joy with me because they didn't quite understand. I also think that like college was a time for me of like really clarifying my values and really discovering who I was apart from my family of origin. And so the friends and the community that I found in college it was just sort of different than sort of the way and the family that I was raised in. They're just very different. So it was interesting, like balancing the two, I would say, of, you know, my home when I was at school and then my home when I was at home with my family.
Yeah, I agree with that too. I think one of the biggest things for first generation students going to college is a sense of belonging. And even though we grow more and more comfortable within the college, I don't think that feeling ever really goes away. It's kind of always in the back of your head, like, do I still really belong here? Am I doing enough? So yeah, but support from like friends in college also really helps a lot too. Okay, so our next question is a professor or faculty member that you went to for guidance, or just someone in college that you went to for guidance during times of trouble.
For me, I felt like I had a gang of people just because I feel like if I didn't have a whole gang of people, it would have probably been different. And it was more so just because I was in a bunch of different places all the time. So it's kind of like, okay, if so-and-so's not there, I have this person to not necessarily fall back on, but like they're in my, what do you call it? Like your push circle or your group of cheerleaders. So pretty much all of the admissions counselors, just because they were always there and like I was always giving tours, and so I literally got close with all of them. And then my voice teacher and my pianist, and whenever I had lessons, which is weekly, like there was times, you know, that's when I preparing for our juries or preparing for shows, like, you know, you might have some, for me personally, sometimes I would just kind of like hit a wall learning, or it was something even outside that was affecting me from having fun in the middle of my music. So they were really helpful as I was transitioning through different phases while I was in college. So definitely find you someone that's going to be able to be there. It's going to be able to listen, and that cares. And you can tell when they care. And for me personally, it's hard to break my wall down. So if I actually come to you and share something or have a rant session, like you should take that as like a gold star, because that means you're important enough to me for me to like let everything out to you. Or else it would be like, oh, how are you doing? Oh, I'm fine. Like you'll get one of those answers if I don't, you know, feel able to fully express myself with you. But I definitely highly suggest that as you go along, and somebody that can like stick with you, hopefully during each part of your entire college journey.
I wholeheartedly agree. Yeah, I feel like I had that gang of people too. I had a couple of professors in religious studies and then a couple of professors in social work classes. Those were my two majors. But yeah, even starting freshman year with our first year experience class, I remember the TA for one of my required English classes, and even that professor, we just had a time dedicated in every class just to like be able to ask questions about college life in general, which was super helpful. I also went to campus ministry and was very involved in that. So it's, yeah, no wonder I work in campus ministry now. But I think, yeah, for me, my professors really like became those mentors, and they were the ones that I would go to when I had questions about the college experience that I couldn't go and ask my parents about. They were, yeah, some of my biggest supporters, and I think it's like sort of their influence on my life that led to like my particular choice of career, and how I like to, engage with young adults now.
My support group was mostly my academic advisor. Like I said before, I used to be a biology student. Now I'm a finance student, and whenever I first met my academic advisor, she was amazing. She was kind of like a motherly figure for me in school.
At the beginning of the semester, I actually felt quite nervousness because it was the first semester I was taking all my finance classes all together, and I felt like I didn't belong there or anything, and my academic advisor kind of told me, hey, it's okay, it's gonna be all right. To be honest with you, I mean, you have the background for it. You come from a numeric data type of base career to another field that is kind of related. Just this one, you're not dealing with sales or anything like that. But she encouraged me a lot along the way. She has been a really, really support system for me, especially on the moments that I need more, that I need faith and also need confidence on myself. She was the one who always inspired me to, hey, keep going, you're doing great. I mean, I do have my supporting group, but sometimes you know how people are, they're just busy and they don't have time for you. So the only person that I actually relate more, it was with my academic advisor, and thanks to her, I feel more confidence on what I do now.
I'd like to piggyback off of what Nicole said, because I feel like the same thing happened to me. I was a student worker for most of my undergraduate career in the library here at St. Thomas, and my support system was my fellow student workers at the time, and knowing they were going through the same stress and struggles that I was going through. And even my supervisor at the time, she was in one of the graduate programs at UST. So, she had her own set of, struggles and stress. And now, full circle, all these years later, my supervisor then is now my coworker, because now we're both supervisors in the library. So it's just funny how things kind of come full circle like that sometimes.
I remember my first semester, I was a chemistry major because I thought that being a chemistry major would help me in pharmacy school. And so I had Dr. Palosoda as my advisor. And I always feel so bad for him because I constantly came into his office crying. Like, oh, I'm not good, my grades are bad, like anything, or like I opened up about my mental health issues to him too. And he always kept like a cool, calm, collected demeanor and was like, no, you're not stupid, like you just need to work at it, and like made me feel better about the situation and that I was in control of things. And I always told him I was sorry. I was like, I'm sorry for coming here and crying. He's like, it's fine, Emily, it's fine. And then when I transitioned from chemistry, because although I love chemistry, chemistry does not like me. And so I went to psychology major, and then I really confided in Dr. Tran. And she's such a wonderful person. Like, I shared so much of my life with her, and like sometimes I would go to her office. Like, I constantly go over my work with her, making sure I was like on the right track. And that's right, Joseph. If you don't cry regularly in college, then you're not doing something right. Yeah, sometimes me and Dr. Tran would just talk about my life, and now she knows like a lot about me, and we regularly talk. So those are the two people that I really went to for guidance. Maritza, did you share anything yet? I wasn't for sure.
No, not yet. But I guess like someone that I went to on campus, I was an RA on campus. I had like the opportunity to be an RA for a year. And I think my supervisor at the time, I don't know if he still works there, his name was Travis. He was like always motivating me to like be my best self and like super understanding. And so he was always like, I used to feel like he was like cheering me on, even though like, even if I never felt like that, like maybe at home or like with family or friends, like I always felt like he was just like there, and he was always pushing me to be like the best person. And I never felt that really until I got involved on campus. Like I had like my first year, I was a freshman and I lived on campus, but I was never social. And then my second year, I lived off campus, but I also wasn't social. So when I got involved in like in campus activities, I started to feel like the real support and like a lot of understanding from like, oh, I'm not the only like first gen student. Like, oh, there's like more people who like really understand like what I'm going through and like how I feel also, because like we would have like one-on-ones, even though he was like my boss, like it was nice to have like someone like to listen to you. And then also like he would like redirect me to like, I know that St. Thomas actually has like a really good like resources for counseling and disabilities, or like other resources for like tutoring for like in case you feel like lost. So that's something like I really appreciate, because I talk to like a lot of other friends that live off campus and they don't really have the opportunity. They're like on a wait list if they need help, or like, you know, they don't really have that like immediate help like St. Thomas does. So I'm really grateful for that.
Yeah, career services I use so much too. Like I'm always seeing Miss Debbie. Really thankful for that. And also I'm really glad that I had like people that I could go to, because like I never wanted to share my struggles with my dad ever. Like we would be on the phone and I'd be like, yeah, everything's going great, and I would hang up the phone and be like, go to someone and be like, this sucks. Like I'm having such a hard time. I don't know if anybody else felt that, but like that was constantly throughout college. Like I felt like I was showing myself being weak, so I never shared any of my struggles with my dad, but I would go to someone who I knew that would understand and just kind of like cried out. So, yeah, very thankful for that.
I understand Emily with it, because I also had the same thing with my parents, especially with my mom. Because like for some reason, if I tell them like, hey, this is how I feel and this is what's been going on, and if I tell them that, I feel like I am disappointing them for some reason. But in reality, they're not disappointed. I had a conversation with my mom once during the summer whenever I told her that I was not gonna go through with the MBA BBA degree, the 5-year degree. And I told her that, and it was a tough moment for me, because I told her like, hey, I know you wanted me to do this because it was the expectation, and I am not gonna do it because, well, right now it's not the time. But I thought you're gonna be disappointed. She's like, no, not really. I mean, as long as you are fine with it, and you should be fine. It's like, it's your choice, it's your life. We're not gonna be controlling you. You're not a 10-year-old child that needs to be, need to guide you. We have just to make our own choices.
And that's also a really good segue into our next question. How did your family respond to your choice of major?
There are so many, many responses. Like I said before, I changed majors. I thought I wanted to be a medical examiner whenever I chose biology. And then I changed majors again to general business, and then again to finance. It's just a lot of switching. But at the end of the day, they supported me on the switching the majors, and to a point that like, hey, this really what you want? Is this the one that gives you enough money, or is it good for you to go to this major, because you're just been kind of switching quite often, and we just worry that you're not gonna graduate on time. And I'm like, yeah, I'm okay with it. As I mean, for me, my family is very supportive. I appreciate that from my family. As just as long as I don't make myself a mistake, I change it. Yeah. I think I'm gonna do that too many, like 5 or 6 times, right? But as long as I'm sure what I'm doing, they're gonna be okay, because at the end of the day, it's my life, it's my choice, and I have to make the best of it. whatever I graduate with, I have to make the best of it on where I want to go.
Yeah. Also, just I feel like a lot of parents have a negative reaction when you change your major to music. Because I remember when I was changing from a chemistry major, I was like, I don't know what other major I want to do. And I brought up music, and my dad was like, no, you can be everything but a music major.
No, I understand. Actually, when I was younger, I wanted to be a art teacher. I wanted to be a teacher, but my mom and my dad was like, "No, you're not gonna be that. Please, just be other thing but that." I'm like, thank you for supporting that part of me. But one person in particular, it will be my brother. My brother, he's the one who's like, again, you changed it again and again. Dude, you have to make your own mind. Like, I am. I feel like I don't belong there. One is too easy, the other one is too difficult. I just want in the middle. I want that I belong. Anyway, my brother, he's the one who's kind of like been challenging, like, oh, I thought you want to be this, or I thought you want to do this and this and this. And I'm like, yeah, but change of life changes. What you want me to do is nothing is like, it's had to go linear, but I need to see where I belong. Something that I like, and something that gives me some income, or something that gives me some income, but it kind of gets me to the place that I want to be, the real goal.
Funny story, I actually also wanted to be a medical examiner, watched way too much CSI, all the things when I was younger. So yeah, but I actually have been singing since middle school competitively. And so my mom was like, you need to, like, when she found out I could sing and I was doing competitions in high school and like winning, going to region and all that stuff, she was like, you need to do music. I was like, no, I need to do something that makes money. You know, I think this will be good. It's in science, you know, I'll be fine. Chemistry and biology were like, huh, you're funny. And I was like, but I like this. And it was like, no, sorry, you can't, you're not doing very good. And I was like, okay, fine. So between that and then just, you know, coming to grips with, okay, how do I help this make me money though? And my whole thing was always that I'm just gonna be a music teacher. That's so boring. I don't want to be a teacher. And like that's just, you know, the things that were going on in my mind. But I ended up actually, aside from trying to figure out how I want to go about my career, I got really big into arts management. So with being a music major, I learned the other side of what it takes to run the organization, whether it's budgeting, fundraising, getting more, you know, butts in the seats at concerts. So I just kind of, you know, it was like, okay, that's one aspect of it, but look at the rest of what it has to offer too. So maybe while you're working in this area, you can tap into this part. So when it's time for you to be the artist, you can help them with their marketing system and how they want to promote this particular show, yada, yada. But I mean, everyone was just kind of like, oh, okay, what are you doing now? And it was just like, whenever I did something, it was cool. Because again, like we always said, we're the first ones to do it. So it was just like anything is like, well, that's great. I never did that. So good for you. But yeah, just kind of making sure that once you decide, you kind of tap around and see what you can do. And then with music, once I switched, I ended up getting more into like digital creative stuff like graphics and video editing and things like that. So I was just like, okay, with this, I can do this and I can write. And so I did, after I switched, I did music and then I added on communication. So it's just kind of like, okay, you sing it, you can also communicate through other creative areas. So I just, when you're picking your degree, just make sure you don't limit yourself and the different options that you have to go along with that. One particular tour I remember, by the way, I was a presidential ambassador my entire time when I was there. That was one of my like fun pastime things. It was like, look at my school, this is the chapel. But this one lady came with her daughter and I was like, oh, what's your perspective major? Just because, you know, we kind of want to get a feel for, you know, what they like so we can show them and kind of tap into all the things UST has to offer on that thing. And her mom was just like, she doesn't know. And I was like, well, that's okay. That's what you're here for. Like, you're going to figure it out as you go along. And the good thing is you get to start with the core basics. And then after you kind of get a little bit of everything, you kind of see where you want to go. So I always tell people, like, don't rule it out. Don't feel bad if you don't know, because you don't even know who you are at like, what, 17, 18 years old. So you're just learning too. So just, take time on that ride and make the most of it for sure by getting to play in different areas.
Well said. Yeah, I think there's so much benefit with the sort of diverse range of classes that y'all get to take at a liberal arts school. I think for me, like before I got to college, I was sort of limited. I limited my scope to like just the classes that you take in middle school and high school. Like I didn't know what careers even existed beyond those. And so for me, how I chose my majors was just something that I was really passionate about. And I think for me, like my favorite way of understanding vocation is the place where our deep joys meet the world's deep hunger. And for me, that was both with social work and religious studies. The questions that I got most often from my family were, how are you going to make any money doing either of those things? And for me, like I wrestled with this for a little bit of time. But ultimately, I think it was something that one of my uncles who I like never really talked to, saw him at some point for a holiday, and I was sort of talking to him about that decision making process, and he shared that like he's in a well-paying job right now, but that it's his biggest regret that he didn't do something that he was passionate about. And so hearing that like just affirmed that choice of, okay, like even if it's not going to be a very high salary job that this leads to, this is what's really bringing me joy. And this is how I can use like my gifts and my passions to serve others.
I think as all students, we're conditioned to kind of choose something like what will make you the most money. But I feel like for first generation students, that really hits hard because most of us don't come from like wealthy families. So it's like, I don't want to end up like my parents, or I don't want to end up like my family, like scraping by. So it's like, I don't get to choose what I want to do. I have to choose what's best for me, what will make me the best money. So Maritza, do you have anything to share?
Yeah, I was actually gonna say, I guess like if anyone's watching this like as a first generation, or like as someone that like maybe you haven't picked your major or anything, my advice to you would be to like do something that you feel passionate about, because I think that was my mistake. Like in going into university, I kind of I've always just like I did the same thing as you guys, I guess, like wanting to choose what makes me the most money. And so I ended up pursuing finance. But now as someone who's about to graduate with a finance major, like um I realized, like, did I choose finance like because it would make the most money, and like how it was said, like generational poverty, like wanting to get out of generational poverty, like what was my purpose in like choosing it. So like, not that I regret it, I did learn a lot, like, especially from St. Thomas's, like, Cameron School of Business, but I think, like, I wish I would have chosen something that would have been fulfilling for me emotionally, and, like, at the end of the day, it is, like, your, like, whole rest of your life, and so, like, my advice to, like, any first generation students would be, like, it's your rest of your life, and it's not necessarily your family's rest of your life, because I know that, like, being first gen, it's like that pressure of like, oh, everyone's watching me, everyone is like depending on me. And so I don't know if like anyone else has felt that way, but I guess that's my advice to anyone who's like first generation and then not knowing like, what to do or feeling lost. Like, I would say choose something that you feel like you love, and even like to just completely disregard like the money, disregard everything, like to choose something you feel passionate about, because at the end of the day, it's going to be you waking up every day and doing that like forever. And so that's my advice to anyone who is first gen.
So building on that, our next question is if you had any pressure from your family, and if so, how did you deal with it? And I agree with Maritza. One of the things I kind of had to deal with, like everyone's depending on me. And I always thought like, well, I just want to quit. And then I would think like, well, I can't quit because everyone's going to remember that I quit. And like, I would have proved like all those people who said that I was on a bright path wrong, that I was disappointing everyone, and just like this immense pressure of my image, keeping up an image of, you know, being a first generation student, being the first one, being basically, I guess, the smartest person in the family, because it's like, oh well, she's going to college, and yeah, that was one of the pressures I faced, was kind of like, how do I stop, or how do I not disappoint my family and everything they've done for me?
I think I feel the same way.
Are there any other pressures that anyone faced from their family, or?
Just the pressure to finish on time from one parent in particular, but I'm not going to put them on the spot. But yes, let's just say one parent was very supportive no matter how long it took me. The other was intent on me finishing in 4 years and making the most money, just because, you know, they came from a very poverty background. So yeah, there was more pressure on me to finish on time and make the most money that I could, so I wouldn't have the same struggles as them. But so yeah, that was my main pressure, probably, was finishing on time. So every time I changed majors or prolonged it, it was, well, what are you gonna do with that now? Like, is that gonna make you money? But it all comes down to I forgot who said it. Was it Maritza? The happiness over money. Like, you got to enjoy what you're doing, and that's what it came down to. No matter how many times I changed majors, was I just wasn't feeling it. I mean, it took a while, but I found what I enjoyed doing.
And I think like another thing, I don't know if like anyone else feels it, but like being the first person to be born here, I feel like everyone has like this ambition for you of being like oh my gosh, they're here in the United States, the land of opportunity, and everyone's like very, very excited for you. But at the same time, it puts like a lot of pressure on you. Like, you're the American dream, like for your family. So I don't know if anyone else has felt it, but like you feel like the pressure of like, I gotta do this and I gotta do it like the best way that I can do it, because I know that like I'm setting the example for like generations to come, which I know it's like, maybe it's just me and I'm putting a lot of pressure on myself, but I'm sure like other first generation students feel that way. Like, I don't know if anyone else is like the firstborn here in the US, but like I know that like personally, like I have a lot of family in Mexico that's like, oh my gosh, she's graduating, like that's awesome, right? Or like she's in the university, like for them it's like something like we would have never imagined. So like being the first one is like and then it's like, okay, I'm the first one and I have to do super, super well because everyone's watching me.
I
I definitely feel that way myself. For me personally, I come from a single mom from another country, but for me, it was another situation. I have an older brother who is also from another country. He was born in Mexico, but ended up coming here. But for me, it was a whole different kind of pressure. Like, my brother ended up attending a local community college, but ended up quitting later on. And then one of my cousins did the same, attending a community college, but then quitted. And so when it was about time for me to attend UST, it was kind of like this whole sort of pressure already placed on me with that. But being the first US born citizen in the family of the whole, is just like a whole nother layer of pressure where you don't really want to disappoint your parents. And my mom especially was going to support me in whatever I do, whatever major I take, but I kind of felt like I don't ever really want to let them down. And it's kind of like that sort of pressure itself builds up.
Thank you for sharing that, Louise. I was born in the US, but I'm not the first one born in the US, but my boyfriend, he's a DACA recipient and he's attending university, and I kind of see his struggles too, because it's like, being a DACA recipient, kind of wonder like, am I worth it? Was like this program worth it for me, or am I just disappointing everyone by not going above and beyond? Because I think that's another thing, like Maritza mentioned, like you're the American dream. So not only are you first generation, but you have to have that pressure of like being better than everybody else because you were given this opportunity. And I think that's just a lot of pressure. Yeah.
Yes. To add that, I'm not born in the US. I was born in Mexico, but I came here at a young age. My siblings also came here at a young age as well. But out of the three of us, one went to college, and that was me. Even though my siblings and my parents, they say they don't have any expectations for me, but I feel, even though they say that, but I do feel myself that I need to put some expectations for myself, so I don't have to end up the way that my brother and my sister have suffered at that young age, at my age. Like my sister had to be in several different jobs. My brother had to start working as a 18-wheel truck driver. And those are tough jobs. They have to wake up really early or have to sleep really late and be outside in the cold weather or be outside in the hot weather, especially in Houston. But it's quite the pressure from my mom, especially, that she just wants us to be the best at everything that we do. And I idolize my mother, so I try to kind of do whatever she says at some point. But not to the point that it kind of makes me feel like, hey, I feel useless. Yeah, that's quite my pressure with my family. And the way that I kind of overcome that is just like, hey, you're not the one who's staying up at 2 or 1 in the morning trying to finish the work, trying to study hard for that particular test, or being in that class that you don't know what the professor even saying. So I'm like, so at the end of the day, it's just the one who needs to have expectations is me, and not anybody else.
I think the biggest pressure from my family that I experienced was the pressure to get good grades and to excel academically, to really make the most of the opportunity to go to college. And I think this was something that they sort of like instilled in me and my siblings like well before college, so much so to the point that it sort of became ingrained in me that like my self-worth is very defined by grades. And so college was an interesting time of unlearning that. And I think what helped me both was the sort of academic type of resources out there. I had I would go to the like tutorial services or the writing center, get help from a TA. One of my professors, I think, offered extensions for papers. So I started asking professors for them. He said, like, I'd rather read a really well-written paper than for you to, type this in 3 hours and then for me to have to read it. And so I took advantage of that and took professors up on that offer. And I think I would imagine, and from what I've heard from students at UST too, is that professors here are really accommodating and they want to see you succeed. And so if you go and ask them for help or go to their office hours, ask them, what are some study tips that you have, or ask other students who've done well in the classes. They really do want to see you learn and succeed. So take advantage of those resources. I think the other thing that really helped me was learning in various facets, both through faith and through counseling, that my worth is not in my grades, and it can't be defined on a piece of paper. And so developing those habits to, feel a sense of self-worth apart from what I do or, what my grades say.
Yeah, I felt that one in my soul because growing up, my dad always instilled education and Galveston is kind of like that place where like if you don't leave, you're doomed to be stuck there doing like the same menial thing every day. So my dad was like, if you want to get out, education is the only way out. And from a young age, he always held me to a high standard. Like I always needed like good grades. And I remember I love my dad, but sometimes he was a little hard on me. But I remember one time, I think it was in math. I've never been good at math. And I got a B or something. And he was kind of like on me about it. And I said, well, I tried my best. And he's like, well, it seems like you didn't try hard enough. And then it wasn't until he started teaching again at a high school that he realized the big pressure on what it means to be a student. And he kind of like let go of those like hard things he put on me. But it was kind of already too late. I kind of was equating myself to my grades. And especially when I went to college, like every time like I didn't make a good grade, it made me feel even more stupid. And even now, I still struggle with trying not to equate myself to grades. So, yeah. Okay, so I guess we'll move on to our next question. This one's specifically to Miss Nicole and Deja, since you guys are alumni. How did it feel when you graduated, and what are you pursuing now?
I'll go first. It felt amazing. I was overwhelmed with gratitude at having accomplished, getting a university degree. And thankfully my family, a lot of them were able to celebrate that. And it was a really big moment of joy. It helped me sort of realize what's possible. I went to grad school right after undergrad. Because I loved learning, wanted to be a professional student, like Joseph mentioned earlier. And I never had that on the horizon at all. But it was, the experiences in college that led me to pursue that. What I'm doing now, I work at the University of St. Thomas in campus ministry. And it's a joy, to work with college students. College for me was such a time of formation. I mentioned earlier, like, it was the time that I discovered who I was. I had my fair share of existential crises and, not knowing what I was going to do with life after graduation. But it really was the mentors that I had in college that led me to this particular career path. I love sitting with students as they wrestle with questions, and in particular, like all of life's big questions, meaning, purpose, like longing for God. It brings me great joy to accompany all of you in your journeys.
Wow, mine's been a bumpy ride since then, but I will tell you, before I even sat down, I bawled crying in the auditorium because I was just like, thank God it's over. But then again, not really, because grades still had to come out. So I was just like, okay, did you really even graduate? No, but I did. But that was one of the things. It was like, why would they do this to us? And I went through the whole, for about a month after you graduate, you're going to have a PTSD, like, oh my God, did I turn that paper? And you're like, oh wait, I'm done. I don't have to do anything anymore. So I definitely went through that phase. And I've heard other people that just graduated this year that did actually go through that too. So I think it happens to everybody. But when I first got out of college, I cracked into my professional career at Theater Under the Stars. If you guys are familiar with them, I went from working with a music company we did Baroque early music concerts, and Theater Under the Stars is musical theater. And they do anything for those that are disabled, and want to do theater. They have like a whole little school for kids that want to do theater. And then we have, union workers, non-union workers that do the shows that they put on as well. And COVID ruined that, but it's okay. But it was a lot of fun. I got a lot of experience, even like post, because I was working on the gala and obviously we couldn't do events. So it's just kind of like my big project basically got cut. So at the time it was like, no, we don't want to do it virtually. We don't know what's going to happen. Like, just if you remember March, that's what was going on at the time. But since then, I haven't quite started up back with school yet. Again, we've been talking about the whole money thing. So that's another big commitment that I'm not quite ready for yet. But I did do like a couple little things here and there, like one course here, one course there that were fun, just kind of like pass the COVID times away. But I have started 2 new jobs, one salary with a company that's like accounting and invoices and things for schools, and I'm on their marketing team, and then I write for an ad agency. So those things that us music people say, actually this one lady that she actually has a Grammy, and I went to one of her master classes, and she was like, I have a Grammy, but I live in an RV. And like sometimes that's just the reality of stuff. So you just gotta like, figure out, she said, you gotta figure out what makes you money until you get to that goal. So if it's those little things, so like I said, I picked up on comm, so communications is kind of where I've been lately, just to kind of help me propel forward more in the music area. But the entire music area is completely shut down. Broadway shut down. There's no auditions. Like, they've tried to do virtual stuff, but like it's just not the same. But that's where I've been at lately. Yeah, I mean, COVID's been interesting as far as work and me getting to know myself some more. And honestly, it was kind of like, it's been very unfortunate, I will say, but I've tried to see the good in it all and just take the time to do some serious reflecting, some things that everyone's not necessarily doing, which I've noticed, or else we wouldn't see people having a lot of temper tantrums. And you're like, look, no one said this was going to be easy. They didn't mention COVID either, but it still wasn't planned to be easy. So you really have to go with the flow. If you are a believer, you got to make sure that you're fortifying your faith every single day. So, but yeah, sorry, I kind of went on a little tangent at the end there, but the most important part out of what I'm doing right now and things like that is just making sure what you pour into you is also being poured out into others in a really positive way. So if that includes work, if that includes your volunteer time, definitely load into those things and help it push forward your personal mantra. Personal brand is also really important, because 9 times out of 10, when a company is hiring, if you want to know anything about jobs or stuff, like I've racked up all kinds of things to like help with that, but it seems like your personal mission is really important, and your personal connections are also really important. So whenever you're looking, try to find mentors, try to find, those people that could be your rep. Whenever you need references and things like that, like get all of that stuff under your belt, because it really helps to have your personal mission like pumped and ready to go, and people will notice your brand, and when they want you to be a part of who they are as a company, or even if it's, clients for your own personal business, those things really do go a long, long way for you.
All right, thank you guys for sharing. I'm gonna extend this question out to Maritza and Mari. I know, Maritza, you're graduating this December, and Mari, I don't know if you're graduating in December or May. Are you graduating in May then?
I'll be graduating on December 2021.
Oh, okay, well, you're graduating.
I'm extending mine.
How does it feel to be almost there?
Personally, I don't know. It just doesn't feel like it's gonna happen yet, and I feel like it just doesn't feel like it's happening. Like, I feel like I saw my friends registering for for like the classes next semester, and I was like, am I missing something? But then I'm like, no, that's it. Like it just feels really like odd. And like surreal. Like I definitely feel like what was said was gonna happen. Like I feel like maybe a month from now I'm gonna be like, what the heck? I have something due, and like I'm really like I know that's gonna happen because that happened like when I graduated high school. But I don't know. I guess I'm like really nervous and at the same time like really grateful. But I'm like anxious for it to get here. Like it's almost like if COVID wasn't happening, like it would have been literally a month away tomorrow. And it's crazy that it's even happening. Like I'm just in shock. I didn't like, not that I didn't think I was gonna make it, but it just feels like it's finally here and doesn't feel real. I don't know how to explain it, but I don't know.
Well, I have mixed feelings about it. I feel nervous about graduating, even though I should get out. But the reason why I feel nervous is because like now what can I do? Or like it's not the same thing as college. Like high school is not the same thing as college. College is not going to be the same thing as the real world. So I'm quite scared about the unknown of the reality. But to be honest with you, I am really anxious also to get to finish, because out there I really am looking forward to the challenges that I'm gonna face. And the only thing I need to do is just to embrace those challenges, and also to kind of be like every challenge is gonna have its own difficulty, but it's our response on how we're gonna respond to that difficulty. You know, everybody has their own sufferings, but it's up to us to kind of respond to that in a positive way or a negative way. But yeah, I mean, I still have my own mixed signals about graduating. But the only thing we need to do is just to keep going and to have our mind open and just keep embracing those challenges.
I definitely remember all those feelings that Maritza and Mari just mentioned. I remember fearing that unknown. You know, I was so focused on school and graduating. I didn't have a job lined up after graduation. Like, what am I going to do now? And then that surreal feeling of like, oh, I got to do my FAFSA. Oh no, wait, no, I don't. I gotta apply for scholarships. No, wait, no, I don't. I gotta make sure I enroll next semester. No, I don't. Like, I remember that very surreal feeling. You just get so into that routine of school that like it's a very surreal feeling knowing that it's about to stop and you don't know what you're gonna do with all that free time, and you know, preparing yourself for that reality that Mari was talking about. So I definitely remember all those feelings, but you'll get past it, girls, trust me.
So I'm not graduating until next semester, and I just put in the application for graduation. And when I did that, I stared at my laptop screen for probably like a couple minutes trying to process it. Yeah, trying to process it. And because I felt fake for a moment. And I took a picture of my screen and sent it to my boyfriend. And I was like, I just applied for graduation. And I just started crying because I realized that my whole life I've waited for this moment, and it is kind of like finally here. And you kind of got to realize like I did that, me. And I just keep like envisioning like my graduation and how basically the person who got me through everything was like my dad. And I keep thinking about like his face at graduation and how proud he's gonna be of me, and how I'll get to show him my diploma. And yeah, it's just a lot of me crying again.
Well, all the feels, like literally when like I said, when I started bawling before I even sat down, it wasn't like it was already kind of happening, but then like my mom was literally already standing up. I got a glance of her and I just lost it. And it's just like you think about, the classes, sometimes you had a hard time, the person that might have been mean to you, like it just everything like kind of flashes in a second, like you went through all of that, but here you are and you did it. So definitely those tears 100% probably will happen again. And that's why, because you feel all of those things and it's just like a wave over you all over again. But the good thing is, that even in uncertainty, you get to move forward and you get to, you got to shapeshift it how you want it to look. So definitely, totally snaps to all of it. Just totally feel all of that.
I'm also happy that I'm like done with school, but at the same time, I'm coming back right after I graduate from a master's program, so I'm not really done per se.
More paper, more expensive paper.
Yeah. But yeah, sometimes it still doesn't feel real, but the times it does, I just like want to keep crying because it's like I'm where I want to be. Like I think ever since I was little, I imagined myself like going to college and being the first one to get a degree and kind of taking my family out of that generational poverty, like being the one to do all that. And through all the immense pressure, through everything, like I still made it. All the times that I wanted to just throw my hands up and quit, I made it. So yeah. And so we've given like a pretty good amount of advice already to students, but is there any more advice that any of y'all could give current first generation students?
Have fun. Enjoy your time in your 4 years. Get involved as much as you can. Shadow. If you don't know where you belong, just keep looking. Keep looking. I mean, you still have 3 more years if you're still a freshman year or sophomore, doesn't matter. Even as a junior, keep looking, because this is your chance to kind of try to find your own you and try to be unique and outstand from everybody else.
Yeah, I always call that growing into yourself. Like you don't know you all the way. So I say you just like keep, getting to know who you are and, peeling back those layers of, wow, I'm actually a lot stronger. And like for me personally, I've always been kind of like a pushover kind of person, or I'll just like sometimes I'll say the things that nobody wants to say or is afraid to say, but a lot of the times to like keep the peace, I'll try like, just to like, I'll just say okay. But like now, like I feel like I'm strong enough and confident enough to like stand up for myself a lot better. And I never, knowing me like back in middle school, I would have never thought that that would be who I was today. So like definitely getting to know yourself is such a process, but like it's really beautiful through the whole thing. So definitely love that. Building your personal brand is very important, like how you want to be seen. Don't let people tell you who you are. You need to come to the table with, this is who I am and this is what I have to offer, so that people won't try to push you over. With that, like I don't know what I was expecting, but I didn't expect people to just be rude, even when you were nice. And I'm talking about like grown adults, like 60-year-old plus adults that, like some people just aren't going to be nice, and you have to be ready for that too. And you have to, have your moment, cry if you need to, but that's one thing my mom didn't tell me that it was like, and I was like, wow, people are really mean. But those are things you're going to run into. That's probably not going to go away. But again, as we've mentioned before, it's all about how you choose to respond, how you choose to react. Throughout university, one cool thing that I think UST kind of has built in is if you want to have faith or God in your life as an option, it's a really nice building blocks from the first human person philosophy to sacred scripture, and you go from there and you just keep trucking till you get to metaphysics and Christ and the moral life, and you just watching those mirroring parts and like going through it like actually living your life during that time is so fun. As far as just, you know, what's your personal code of ethics? How do you see God? And like going through all of that, it was like so much fun for me. I come from someone that was doing like interfaith ministries as a kid with people that were Jains, people that were Muslim, people that were, okay, what's the difference between a Catholic and a Jew? And like, you know, just having all those different backgrounds kind of was like so much fun. Like once I got to like really fortify like how I see God, do I have a shot glass size faith, or do I have this Oktoberfest gallon size jug of faith? Like how do you describe that for yourself? And like trekking through that was a lot of fun. So don't be afraid of that as you go through it. If that's your thing, that will definitely be something that you can get into at UST, or while you're there if you don't already know, or if you're kind of, you know, not quite sure about it. But if not, I definitely highly suggest counseling. I went towards the end because I felt like, okay, I'm about to transition out. I don't really know what I'm doing as an adult, so I'm going to go to counseling and, you know, see what it's like and just kind of talk it out because I don't really know how to feel. Again, no one to kind of help me through that. So, hey, help me, you know, figure it out. And like, that was one thing I slightly wish I had done a little bit sooner, but I did it the semester before my graduation time. And it was really helpful just kind of winding it all together. And that's where I got the whole, like, how's your personal brand? Like, is it, you know, what it needs to be for the jobs that you're looking for, et cetera, et cetera. And then internships, if you can get on that early, that'd be really helpful. I feel like if I hadn't started with those arts management internships that I had, I wouldn't have understood all the different facets of what else there was other than being, you know, playing an instrument or singing. So it'll help you, you know, tap into some different areas. And because we are young, people are going to try to sell you a dream or sell you a job that pays pennies. And I'm not saying chase money, but just know your worth, because they're going to see you as a young person. They're going to try to think they can get over on you. And definitely, if you come with the skill, don't let them do that to you. So those would be the things that I've learned just a year out. So just so you know, like what it's like, you're coming into a heft, but definitely, you know, just to be prepared for all of those things. If someone had have told me that a little sooner, I would have definitely appreciated it. I think the transition would have been a little easier to accept.
I think for me, the advice that I'd give y'all is, well, two things. One, take advantage of all the resources that are available to you at UST. I mean, I think I can speak for a number of staff who work here that we work at a small school so that we can get to know students more one-on-one. It brings us great joy to get to support y'all and like help whenever you experience questions or crises or like any of those obstacles that you'll encounter in college. There are so many different departments, so many staff, as well as, of course, your faculty, your professors who really want to support you as you grow. And then my second piece of advice is that college is about so much more than preparing you for a particular job. It's not just job preparedness. It really is, like Deja said, like getting to know who you are and being formed. And you'll never know, like, until sort of life unfolds, how the formation that you're receiving right now will impact you and will help you later on down the road. I also would just say be open to new experiences, be open to new people, new friendships. There really is not another time in your life like quite like college, just with the so many opportunities that surround you. So yeah, take full advantage of it.
I think that if I could give any advice, I think that was like really good advice to like use the resources that you have on campus. And then another, I guess, like my advice would be based on like personal experiences. Don't be afraid to like ask questions or ask for help. Like most of the time, everyone else is either like feeling the same way that you do or like more than willing to help you. And I don't know if it's like a pride thing, but put it aside and like, you know, just ask for help. And like there's more than like so many resources on campus. And like that's one of the benefits of going to a small school is like everyone is like, you know, has the time to help you, is like ready to help you, and everyone has your best interests at hand, or things like that. So like everyone wants to help. Like maybe you'll run into a few people, but most of the time everyone's feeling like the same way that you do, and it's just about like speaking up. I think that was like my biggest regret. Like I wish I would have asked for help like earlier on. Like now I'm like about to graduate, like of course I figured out now I have to ask for help, but like anyone who's like just entering, or like this is your first year, first semester, like that would be, yeah, don't suffer in silence. Like that's really, it was really hard for me too. Like I don't know if it was like first gen, like I can do this kind of mentality, or like just like I don't know, shyness, but definitely relatable.
And lastly, I think my advice would be don't ever give up, don't ever stop trying. Always have hope. I mean, you've made it this far, so therefore you can make it to wherever you want to go. Something that constantly pushed me was my dad. He always told me, like, this is your destiny. This is where God wanted you to be. And every time, like, I wanted to throw my hands up and quit, I always thought, like, you know, I'm here for a reason. I may not know what that reason is, and I may not think of myself highly as I do right now, but my dad was right. This is my destiny. This is who I am. This is where God wanted me to be, and just keep going, even when it seems really rough, because in the end it will be so worth it. There are times where I look back and I'm like, I'm so glad I didn't quit and leave, because I'm really happy at where I am at this point. And your family is always going to be proud of you, and even if you feel like no one's proud of you, I'm proud of you, because it takes a lot of courage, a lot of bravery, and a lot of work to be a first generation student. And I'm so proud of everyone.
Yeah, for sure. We have to remember that like we prayed to be the best and we wanted to be the best. And the best does come with challenges and it comes with struggles. So definitely all of that. And congratulations to everyone. As far as you've, you know, made it through, or if you're done and you're thinking about doing this whole thing again with grad school. So just best of luck to all of y'all.
All right, and with that was our last question. So gonna wrap everything up. I'd like to thank all our speakers for coming out. Thank you, Luis, for coming out. Very nice having you here and participating. And anyone who's gonna watch this on YouTube, thank you for watching this. So I hope everyone has a really good night.